At dawn on March 3, 1943, the Bismarck Sea lay serene under a pale sky. Rear Admiral Masatomi Kimura stood on the bridge of his destroyer Shirayuki, watching his convoy. 8 destroyers escorting 8 fully loaded transport ships moved through waters off northern New Guinea. The ships carried 6,900 soldiers of the 51st Division, desperately needed reinforcements for Lieutenant General Hatazo Adachi at Leh. For over a year, the Imperial Japanese Navy had ruled these waters. Convoys moved under the protection of experienced destroyers and trained anti-aircraft crews. There had been close calls, but no real disasters. American bombers attacked predictably, B-17s from high altitude dropping bombs that usually missed, torpedo planes coming in low and slow, easy prey for concentrated fire. "The Americans are clumsy," a gunnery officer remarked. "They attack where we expect them." Kimura nodded. His convoy sailed in textbook formation, destroyers in a protective ring, transport steady in the center. It was a portrait of Imperial Navy precision. Below decks, young soldiers from Osaka and Kyoto sang softly or wrote quick notes home. The voyage was just a brief passage before the real fight in New Guinea's jungles. They trusted their officers, their navy, their empire. None imagined the sea would soon become a furnace. At 600 hours, Kimura studied the horizon through binoculars. The convoy traced perfect white ribbons across golden water. He had no reason to think this mission would differ from dozens before. Intelligence had warned of American reconnaissance aircraft, but reports were vague. Japanese doctrine dismissed such threats as manageable. Yet hundreds of miles south, on dusty Australian airstrips, American and Australian crews were loading modified B-25 Mitchell bombers, machines unlike anything Kimura's men had faced. Within hours, those aircraft would bring a new kind of warfare, born not in strategy meetings, but in field mechanics' desperate innovation. The transformation had begun at Eagle Farm Airfield near Brisbane, where Major Paul Pappy Gunn, a restless problem solver, worked in tin-roofed hangars amid red dust and oil smell. Gunn had learned a brutal truth: high-altitude bombing against ships didn't work. Torpedoes malfunctioned. Too many pilots died trying to hit moving targets from thousands of feet up. His answer was radical. If bombs couldn't hit ships from altitude, bombers themselves would become the weapons. Gunn rolled a B-25 into his hangar and ordered crews to strip everything from the nose: bombardier seat, bomb sight, glass panels. "We're not aiming from 10,000 feet anymore," he said. "We're aiming down the barrel." Without blueprints or authorization, his team welded steel plates into the nose, reinforcing the frame for recoil. Then they mounted machine guns, first 250 caliber Brownings, then 4, finally 8. Each gun fired 850 rounds per minute. By completion, 8 barrels protruded from the B-25's nose like metallic fangs. The added weight, 500 pounds of steel and ammunition, shifted the aircraft's balance. Gunn recalculated trim, adjusting counterweights until it flew level. The bomber looked less like a precision instrument, more like an airborne chainsaw. At dawn, the modified B-25 taxied onto the dirt runway. Gunn, wearing grease-stained coveralls, took the controls. At 500 feet, he leveled out and pressed the trigger. The nose erupted, 8 streams of fire converging into one roar. The vibration shook the entire airframe. Spent shells cascaded like brass rain. "She doesn't bomb anymore," Gunn said after landing. "She shreds." Word spread quickly. One observer compared it to a destroyer turned sideways and given wings. Within weeks, modification teams across Australia copied Gunn's design. The Americans had created something new, a medium bomber, reborn as a gunship. The firepower was staggering. 8 guns firing together unleashed 6,800 rounds per minute. Each armor-piercing incendiary round traveled at 210 feet per second, punching through armor and igniting at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. A 2-second burst could shred a destroyer's superstructure, destroy anti-aircraft positions, and kill exposed crews before they could react. Simultaneously, Major William Benn of the 43rd Bombardment Group developed skip bombing. Watching children skip stones, he realized bombs could do the same, bounce across water to strike ships at the waterline. Flying at 250 feet and 220 miles an hour, releasing at 600 yards, pilots could hit ships 9 times out of 10. The combination was lethal. Strafers would attack first, silencing anti-aircraft guns with their 850s. Skip bombers would follow, releasing 500-pound bombs that struck below the waterline. Japanese defenses, designed for high altitude or torpedo attacks, were useless against this 2-stage assault. At precisely 10:00 a.m. on March 3rd, lookouts aboard Shirayuki spotted silver flashes high above, B-17s approaching at 7,000 feet. Kimura nodded calmly. This was expected. For months, high-altitude bombers had attacked with little success. Every destroyer elevated its guns, the sky filled with flak bursts. But while crews focused upward, 12 B-25s from the 3rd Attack Group and 13 Australian Beaufighters raced in at wave-top height 15 miles away. Their propellers churned mist, noses bristling with machine guns. Major Edward Larner, flying Ruthless, led the attack. Through his windshield he saw Japanese gunners looking the wrong direction, exactly as hoped. At 280 miles an hour, Ruthless roared toward Shirayuki. Suddenly, sailors noticed, glinting on the horizon. Someone shouted, "Haikui! Haikui!" "Low! Low!" Gunners scrambled to depress their weapons, but the planes were already too close. Larner pressed the trigger. 8 guns erupted, the nose exploding in flame. To Japanese crews, a wall of light appeared from nowhere. The first round struck Shirayuki's bridge at 2,900 feet per second. Windows shattered, metal buckled, men vanished in sparks and smoke. Within seconds, every exposed gun crew was hit. Lieutenant Takashi Miyata later recalled, "It was like being trapped in a machine shop as every wall caught fire. The air itself screamed." Larner fired for 8 seconds, 900 rounds, then released 2 skip bombs. They struck below the waterline. Shirayuki's midsection exploded. Steam burst upward as she listed to port. Behind Ruthless, 11 more B-25s selected targets. Lieutenant John Henley, in the Hare, aimed for transport Kyokusei Maru. His guns walked fire from bow to stern, shredding the bridge before his bombs hit. The ship's captain never gave orders. The helm was gone, crew dead or wounded. Beaufighters followed even lower, 20 feet above the surface. Their cannons hammered upper decks, cutting down remaining gunners. Flight Sergeant Fred Cassidy described it. "You could see men on deck. Then our cannons hit, and the deck disintegrated. One moment there were shapes, next just smoke and splinters. The air turned to chaos. Ships wove desperately, throwing up foam plumes. Water boiled with tracer fire. Explosions echoed as skip bombs struck hulls, detonating deep inside. Taimei Maru took a hit near the engine room, flames pouring from ventilators. Nojima Maru was struck by two bombs that ripped her open. The destroyer, Arashio, tried shielding transports by steering between them and attackers. 3 B-25s turned their combined 24 guns on her simultaneously. Arashio's bridge vanished in fire. Rudder jammed, she collided with transport Nojima Maru. Both ships locked together, burning furiously. For Japanese sailors, the laws of war had been rewritten. No warning sirens, no altitude calls, no evasive maneuvers worked. The attackers came too fast and low. The sound of 8 barrels hammering wasn't normal machine gun chatter, but continuous roar, a mechanical scream shaking the air. Within 15 minutes, it was over. When the last B-25 pulled away, 4 destroyers and all 8 transports were sinking or aflame. Thousands struggled in water, now black with oil, streaked with fire. One officer, standing waist-deep beside his overturned lifeboat, watched a transport explode and whispered, "We never saw them coming." The aftermath was horrific. Ships burned through the day and night, ocean glowing red-orange. Sharks gathered, first feeding on debris, then taking men. Survivors faced burning or drowning. Many chose the latter. Of 6,900 soldiers who left Rabaul, fewer than 1,200 saw land again. Nearly 5,700 died. When Japanese submarines arrived after dark, they found floating corpses and wreckage, the smell of fuel and death heavy in the air. Admiral Kimura never recovered from what he witnessed. In his after-action report, he wrote simply, "The sea itself was our enemy." The battle's impact was immediate and profound. Japan could no longer move convoys by day. Surface resupply shifted to night operations only. The Americans had proven that innovation trumped doctrine, that 8 machine guns and skip bombing could destroy entire convoys in minutes. For Japan, proud master of the Pacific, the sea that carried its conquests had become a prison of oil, fire, and memory. The age of the battleship was over. In its place stood a new warfare, industrial, inventive, relentless. The B-25 strafer, born from desperation in a dusty hangar, had revealed a deeper truth. In industrial war, invention itself was the ultimate weapon. Pappy Gun's modification would inspire future gunships from Vietnam's AC-47 to the modern A-10 Warthog, all echoing the same principle, an aircraft designed not to deliver weapons, but to become one. Today, the Bismarck Sea lies calm again. Coral grows over twisted steel where 5,700 men died in 15 minutes of mechanized fury. The wrecks remain, pierced by hundreds of neat holes, each the diameter of a .50 caliber bullet, silent testimony to the moment when 8 machine guns changed naval warfare forever.